All set.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is case number 10. Location of property, 16 Holy Ridge Drive. Type of district, residence A2. Type of structure proposed. Owner's name, Stephen Perkins and Colleen Milet. Owner's address, 16 Holly Ridge Drive. When did you acquire this property? 2019. Has application been filed with town clerk? Yes. Has any previous appeal been made? No. Sections of bylaw of which relief is requested, section 6-6, accessory apartment. This case was advertised in the Whitman Hanson Express on October 8th and October 15th. And let me first state who's present at the meeting, so we get that on the record. From the Board of Appeals, we have Ms. Wayne Andrews, Robert Keeman, James Chandler, Richard Blas, and Fred Gometti, and myself, John Goldrosen. And we have our Secretary, Carol O'Brien, and we have the applicants, Colleen Milet and Stephen Perkins. I don't think, I guess the building inspector is not here, so that's who we have in attendance. So sitting on the case will be myself, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Chandler, Mr. Blas, and Mr. Gometti, the 5 regular members of the board. At this time, I'll have the reading of the list of abutters, unless I see, let me get Mr. Curran just joined, so let me get him onto the. All right, there we go. And Mr. Curran, you can unmute yourself. So we have the building inspector, Mr. Curran, here as well. We'll have the reading of the list of abutters unless I hear a motion to waive the reading of the list of abutters.
So moved, Chairman.
Mr. Andrews has moved to waive the reading of the list of abutters. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chandler. I will take a roll call on this. Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Chandler,
Yes.
Mr. Blas,
No.
Mr. Gometti. Mr. Gometti, can you hear us, Fred? Fred, can you hear us?
John, I could have had it finished already.
What's that?
I could have had it finished already.
There's a motion on the floor to waive the reading of the list of abutters. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay. And myself, yes. So 4-1 to waive the reading of the list of abutters for the reason that there are no abutters present. All right. At this point, if the, give me a minute, I'm going to get the documents onto the screen. Let me. Okay, do people see the documents on the screen? I've got the application there. Is
Yes.
that okay?
Yes.
Let me go ahead and move to the site plan. Okay. Ms. Milet and Mr. Perkins, do you want to explain to us, one of you want to, or both of you explain to us what you're proposing to do?
Sure, we would like to build an accessory apartment for my mother-in-law.
We're getting some distortion there.
Okay,
Are
maybe
we on speaker?
Lynn and I are in the same room, so I think it was her feedback.
Okay, now we can hear you good. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so you can see the existing house on the right. This is a gambrel house at, right on the town line between Whitman and Hanson. Colleen and I are engaged. We bought this house from her mom. Her mom has lived there since building this house in probably early 1970s. And now she's in retirement, and we'd like to build this accessory apartment for her to live in and live her retirement there. So you can see the proposed addition on the left-hand side. It's connected to the existing house by a breezeway. In the design, we've followed all the rules that we saw in the bylaws. And we tried to design we had a architect design the new structure to look very much like some houses in the neighborhood and in the town. It's designed to look like really a two-car garage connected to the house by a breezeway.
Okay. The existing house is 2 stories, correct?
Right.
And what will the addition be?
It's a single story.
All right. And it's not too clear from the plans, where are the entrances into the addition?
So the breezeway will be an entrance for both households or both
Okay.
living spaces. And then there's a door in the back for the accessory apartment.
And is that to the deck, what's shown as a proposed deck?
Well, yeah, actually, that will be a doorway that is used by the existing house.
Okay.
There's another door going out to the back, more towards the middle of the proposed addition.
Okay. And the plan doesn't show the parking on the site. Where is the existing parking, and is it the existing driveway? And are you making any changes to that?
Yes, so you can't see the existing driveway. The addition overlaps part of it.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Right, and we're gonna basically add another lane to that, so it'll be twice as wide.
All right. So you'll have a single driveway, but it'll be twice as wide.
Right.
Okay. All right. And you don't have any architectural plans for the addition to show us, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do. Do you have a way to share it?
I think so. Let me try this
Okay.
share
Give it a try.
screen.
I'm gonna turn off my screen sharing just in case that interferes with it. Oh wait, I see a new share. I'm gonna hit a button for new share. I'm gonna hit that in case. No, that would just be for me. So.
John, that seemed to work for a half second. Something flashed on the screen.
Here, let me try this icon.
Yeah, I just took my screen share off. So why don't you try?
Okay. Can you see my desktop?
I can see something there. Okay.
Okay, so this is the plot plan that
Yep. Okay,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, we can see that. Okay,
So this is the architectural plan.
Yes,
That's what they're showing you.
yeah, okay. When I look at it, looks like an addition to the house.
Right. Right. So yeah, this is just the architectural's rendition of the plot plan.
okay,
Existing house is here on the right. The addition is here on the left, and the breezeway connects the two.
okay.
This is the layout, which I don't think you want to see too much, but
Well, let's go, okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's look at this. Okay, that's,
Okay,
In me.
so again, this is the existing two-story house here. Here is the proposed in-law accessory apartment, the breezeway connecting the two. So this door will be shared in the breezeway. You can access the accessory apartment with a door inside the breezeway here. Or you can access the existing house with the original kitchen door, which is back here.
okay. Can you go back to the plan that shows the interior layout, the previous page?
Sure. So let me
Okay,
zoom
so
in.
just for the record, explain to us, because it isn't too easy to see it on here, in the addition, how many rooms are there? Just what's the, okay, that's helpful.
Okay, so here is the breezeway.
Yeah,
This is the entry door into the breezeway, and then the entry door into the accessory apartment. There's a laundry room here that's technically in the breezeway area, but it's going to be used by this apartment. We have a kitchen and a big space here that's a living room and a dining room. And then a bedroom here,
okay,
from here. And here's a walk-in closet for the bedroom.
okay,
And so this is the door that will go back out into a patio, which is in front of the fence to the in-ground pool. And this is a door that will come out onto a deck in the backyard.
all right. And on the architectural plan, it looked like there's sort of a gable above the addition. Is that just,
Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. We tried to make it look like similar properties in the town and in the neighborhood. I see a lot of houses that have a two-car garage connected to the house by a breezeway. So with that in mind, and to try to look similar to that, we gave it that design.
okay, so that sort of half floor above the first floor, that's just an open area above the living dining room?
Yes, this is a cathedral ceiling.
Cathedral ceiling, that was the word I was looking for. Okay. All right. Anything further? Mr. Curran, do you want to comment on this? Because I will say I went by the property the other day and I noticed there's already a foundation in. Mr. Curran? I don't know if he can.
How about now?
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, this addition was, I allowed him to start the addition. He can build the addition, it meets the setbacks. There's not a problem with it. The only reason he needs to come in front of this board for a special permit is to add the kitchen part of the addition.
Okay,
This was similar to a couple of others we've done in the town. But because the scheduling for the ZBA, I allowed him to get going with this. If there were any changes in the floor plan at all, he certainly can still make those, but the foundation walls were poured today.
all right. All right, I have a couple of letters. Anything else, Mr. Perkins, that you want to add?
No.
Ms. Marlette?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let me read a couple of letters into the record, and then we'll go to questions from the board. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health has no objection to the petition of Stephen Perkins and Colleen Milet for an accessory apartment at 16 Holly Ridge Drive. The town of Whitman's water sewer master file indicates this home is connected to municipal sewer and water. Sincerely, Barbara J. White, Chair. And from the Whitman Planning Board, at the September 8th, 2020 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for 16 Holly Ridge Drive. The planning board has no recommendation due to lack of sufficient information. The ZBA should make note of the size of the proposed addition to the existing house. Sincerely, Eric Pretorius, Chairman. Okay, at this point, we'll go to questions from members of the board. Mr. Andrews?
Yes, I have a few questions. First of all, the site plan does not meet the standards for our zoning bylaw. It doesn't show the abutting properties with the location of the houses and driveways on it. It doesn't show a locus. And according to the accessory apartment bylaw, the accessory apartment is to be substantially contained within the existing structure. This new addition is going to be larger on a foot plan than the original structure. And there's no way you're going to be able to give that the appearance of a single family home, even though you supposedly are going to have a breezeway connecting it. I think the site plan is lacking all of these items. And I'd like to know what the proposed addition on the right rear of the house is to be used for.
The proposed addition for the right rear, that we are not doing that now. We originally planned on making the master bedroom to the existing house larger, but we've scrapped that plan. We're just doing the in-law side.
All right, well, if you're just having an addition to the house, I wouldn't have too many problems with this, but using it for an accessory apartment, I don't agree with that at all, because it's too large. It's as large as the house itself, and it's not contained substantially in the existing house. And I understand with the type of house you have, after seeing it 2 or 3 times, that you probably wouldn't have the room for an in-law unless it was in the basement. But this is not following the zoning bylaw at all.
So if I can add something, can you mute?
Go ahead, Ms. Milet.
I've lived at that home all of my life. My parents built this house. They built this house in order to build onto the left-hand side, whether it be a garage or an in-law. If you could look at the property, the house was built off-centered for that reason. It goes along with a lot of the other houses in the neighborhood that if it's not a house with an in-law, it's a house with a breezeway with a garage.
Well, I have no problem if it was just going to be an addition, but putting a kitchen makes an in-law. And according to the zoning bylaw, that does not conform to what an accessory apartment is. You'd have to eliminate the kitchen. And that would eliminate using it as an in-law. Well, you could use it as an in-law, but without a kitchen. So those are just my observations.
All right.
That's all I have.
John, if I may?
Is that Mr. Curran?
Yes, John.
Yes.
I disagree with that reasoning. We didn't put a size limitation on the in-law, and it does not say in our bylaws that it has to be substantially within an existing single-family home. We've issued
It doesn't
permits
say.
for. No, it doesn't say that.
I beg to differ with you. That is in the zoning bylaw.
Yeah, and again, we'd have to compare the bylaw together, but it, in my recollection of it, and I don't have a copy of it with me, but we've done this before, and there's no limitation on size in this town. nor does it say you can't add an addition for the in-law. I looked over this plan before I allowed the construction of the foundation, and I don't see an issue with it at all. It wouldn't be any bigger than if we added a garage onto that house with a breezeway. And I think this board has approved in-law apartments bigger than what this is. In fact, I did look at one over off of Fieldstone Circle that is substantially bigger than this, that this board approved, and that never came up. So, you know, and I'm not trying to compare one to another, other than this is not part of the guidelines that I offer to the residents when they ask questions regarding in-laws.
Well, I guess we just disagree on that because that's not my interpretation of it. But
Yeah, and again, it doesn't say within an existing single-family home, but it is an accessory inside of an existing, inside of a single-family home, whether it's new construction or existing, and that house that's there that exists is much too small for an in-law.
I agree, but the size of this addition, the whole in-law apartment or accessory apartment is going to be exterior to the existing building, which it is not supposed to be.
It's going to be 24 by 34.
Yeah. Let
Right,
me
it's going to
jump
be
in.
connected with, it's going to be connected with a breezeway, I understand that. But looking at the site plan, it looks like it's still, the footprint's still going to be the same size or larger than the existing home.
Let me just jump in because it's a little hard for me to keep control of a meeting that's on Zoom. Just my observation, I mean, this is an issue that's come up before. And I've expressed my view that the bylaw as it's written, I think, allows additions that go beyond what the original intent of the bylaw was, which having somebody convert part of an existing house to an in-law, but that isn't the way it was written. And I think has come up before and been pointed out before, if this addition was simply built as an addition to the house, the applicants could come back a year from now and ask for an in-law apartment special permit, and it would be within the existing house. So that's the dilemma we face. So I try to look at these and focus on the requirements of the bylaw, that it maintain the appearance of a single family house, meaning particularly don't have a door on it that looks like a separate entrance. I'd also be concerned if there was going to be two separate driveways. That would make it look like a two-family house, but they're just expanding the existing driveway. It'll be sort of between the two units. And I have gone by the property. It certainly will be far enough from the house to the left. There's a line of trees that won't be disturbed there. And obviously the neighbor next door hasn't come to the hearing. Mr. Perkins or Ms. Milet, did you speak to your neighbors about this, particularly the person to the left of your house?
We have not, but we all are very close there. Everyone that has lived there for a long time. The people next door, next to the Hemlocks, can you mute your mic? Actually, their aunt and uncle owned that house before. So they're relatives of the Goulds as well. So again, you know, we all mow our lawns at the same time. We all plant our flowers. We know each other very well.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. Do you know what the square footage of the existing house is, the interior square footage? I'm guessing it's 2,000 square feet or maybe a little less. Ms. Milet or Mr. Perkins, do you know?
Sorry, I think it's in the architectural plan. I can try to find that.
All right, let me move on while you're doing that. Mr. Blas, comments or questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Andrews and Mr. Curran and yourself, you've pretty much answered the concerns I have. I agreed with Mr. Andrews, but at the same time, we've had similar cases, and I agree that a building permit could simply be issued to expand the house 2 or even 3 times its size, and the applicant can come back a year from now and request an in-law. So for all intent and purpose, get it over with in one fell swoop, including the actual construction. Just my questions had to do with the elevated drawings, and those have been provided, had to do with the parking, and that has pretty much been talked about. The square footage, which I'm waiting to hear back on, that was my other question, but I believe I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes,
John, the footprint of the in-law itself without the breezeway is 816 square feet.
all right. And do you know what I was asking was the total square footage of the existing house, the 2 stories?
It's probably 17 or 1800.
All right, that's what I wanted to get at, that, visually, the addition looks like it's as big as the existing house, but in terms of square foot, I'd be much more concerned if the addition was going to be 2 stories. But as 1 story, it is approximately half of what the existing house is for square footage. Mr. Chandler?
I think most of my questions have been answered, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
All right.
I am looking at Article 25, and Mr. Andrews, I believe, is correct, that it states under the definition that is substantially contained within the structure. But my point, in agreement with Mr. Blas, is that we'll just be going over this again after it's built. So I agree with his statement of let's just get it over with. At this point, that's all I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gometti, any questions or comments?
Yes, John, when I first looked at this, the thing that came to my mind was it's an addition with the house. You know what I mean? But it looks fine to me. I mean, it's well drawn, and Bobby pretty well explained it. So I'm all set.
All right. Mr. Keeman, did you have any comments or questions?
No, I have no questions at this time.
All right. Have I gone through everybody? If we were sitting in a room, I'd look down the table and make sure I covered everyone, but I think I did. All right. Anything further anyone wants to add on this? I think we've got everything. All right, I'm going to close the hearing then. Mr. Perkins, would you close your screen just so with the drawings? Great, just makes it easier to see everybody. Do I hear I'll entertain a motion on this request for a special permit for an in-law?
I'll make the motion, John, to approve.
All right, Mr. Gometti has moved to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Chandler. Any further discussion? All right, I'm going to take a roll call since we're in the Zoom meeting. Mr. Gometti?
Yes.
Mr. Chandler?
Yes.
Mr. Blas?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
No,
And myself, John Goldrosen, yes. So it's the vote is 4-1, and the application is approved. And I guess I'll add, the one thing I always say when an in-law apartment is applied for, I always want to say to the applicant, just a reminder to put it on the record that this is indeed only for use by a family member. If that should cease, you'd be left with you would not be able to rent it to any outside person. If the house is sold, the new owners have to come in and get a new permit to allow the continued use of the in-law. All right. We will be getting out the opinion within 2 weeks. Carol O'Brien helps in this, and she's very busy with the election, so I'm guessing it's going to be 2 full weeks before we get it out, but we'll get that out. And in the meantime, Mr. Curran can answer any questions that you two might have about this. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll close the hearing on this. You're free to hang up if you wish. And let me now check with the people that may be here for the next hearing. Okay. I'm putting Jeffrey Jocelyn as a panelist, who's an applicant. Let me check with the others. Okay, Mr. Jocelyn, if you can, let's see, unmute yourself. And Mr. Sidoni, okay. The person,
Hi, this is
go ahead, the person
Mr.
at the phone.
I have a screen opened up and also a phone on because apparently my audio isn't working.
Okay, and who is this?
Jeffrey Jocelyn.
Okay, and Mr. Sidani, are you here for the Old Colony Way case? Or are you here for Bedford Street?
He said in the chat that he was here for Bedford Street.
Okay, Mr. Sidani, are you here for Bedford Street? Okay, you can either stay on the line or we're just getting to 2 Old Colony Way, which was our 7:30 case, so we'll be back on that one. All right, let me open the hearing for 2 Old Colony Way. This is case number 11. Location of property, 2 Old Colony Way, type of district, residence A2. Type of structure, proposed addition. Owner's name, Angela Jocelyn. Owner's address, 2 Old Colony Way. When did you acquire this property? 2018. Has application been filed with town clerk? Yes. Has any previous appeal been made? No. Section of bylaw of which relief is requested, section 6-5 variance. This case was advertised in the Whitman Hanson Express on October 8th and October 15th. Sitting on the case will be Mr. Andrews, Mr. Gometti, Mr. Blas, Mr. Chandler, and myself, John Goldrosen. This time we'll have the reading of the list of abutters, unless I hear a motion, but Mr. Blas is ready to roll, so why don't we just read the list?
There we go. The following is a list of parties in interest in accordance with the requirements of the State Zoning Act for the property located at 2 Old Colony Way, Book 50167, page 200. David and Ann Wright, Michael and Amy Cotter, Jeffrey and Aaron Bandini, Robin LaRossi, Karen and Raymond Hunt, Henry Alexis Guerrero Figueroa, and Marie Edith DeSources and Rose Colette Gacosti. 253 Washington Street, LLP. And Paul Zakruski, trustee, Larry's Laundrette Realty Trust. And that's it.
Okay, I'm going to, again, try to share the screen and see if I can, maybe I have to open this first. Okay, I think we're here. So I will scroll down to the site plan for this one. Let's see if I can turn it around. There we go. Okay, Mr. Jocelyn, do you want to explain what you're proposing to do? I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. and why you need a variance.
Basically, I'm looking to add a third car garage and add a second floor above it. My father passed away a couple of years ago, and since then I basically took over here. My mother still owns everything, but I took over. So we're trying to get another master bedroom and get me out of a teenager's room, basically.
So looking at the plan, where the addition is shown to the left of the existing house, I also see an addition to the rear of the existing
Yeah.
garage. So
Yes, the garage will go back 8 feet.
and you mentioned put in, is the addition for the garage, for another car for the garage?
Yes, it is. And also it's the second floor over that.
All right, so the second floor will be the bedroom that you're going to add?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else on that second floor?
Yes, there'll be an additional bedroom and a laundry room.
Okay.
And a bathroom, basically, yeah.
Okay. And just for the record, how many rooms are in the existing house? And what are they in the existing house?
It's 3 bedroom, but one of the rooms will be taken up as a hallway to get to the second floor.
Okay.
So we'll be replacing that spare bedroom in the new addition.
All right. And I take it the reason that the variance is needed for the encroachment into the side yard setback, I see a little triangular corner of the extension of the garage to the side, and also a little triangle of the addition to the garage in the rear. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have kind of a triangular lot.
Yes, okay. And is the laundrette next to you in towards the rear? Is it that one what is next to you? Or is that a house?
It's basic the driveway for the rental home, and it's basically in back of the house. So they would be next to the laundromat.
Okay.
Their driveway kind of runs in between our property and the laundromat.
Okay. All right, I see. All right. Mr. Curran, any comments on this?
I did meet with the property owner on the site to get an idea what he was going to be doing there, and it seems like it's really far away from that single-family home that's next door to it, and it almost appears as though that property line should have been moved over, but it isn't. So I have no issues.
Well, as I remember, this entire development, wasn't the entire development like built under a variance to allow smaller lot sizes? And you might not have been around, Mr. Curran, at that time, but.
Yeah, I was. It was going to originally be a 40B, and then it was redeveloped to make the lots a lot bigger than it originally was going to be approved. And there was an issue. It was some kind of a moratorium that they couldn't have 2-family homes in there. Do you remember that? And I think the owner applied for a special permit to make that 253 a 2-family. And that was done as part of Old Colony.
Okay. Yeah.
So then the board actually allowed him to withdraw without prejudice, and now it's a single-family home that's, I believe, rented.
Right. It just, my recollection, I think this is before I was even on the board, was that all the lots, that explains some of the shape of the lots and the sizes of the lots. Is it was done as sort of a compromise in lieu of the 40B. Anyway,
Right.
That's just maybe history. Okay, let me read a couple of letters into the record, then we'll go to questions from members of the board. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health has no objection to the petition of Angela Jocelyn for a proposed addition. at 2 Old Colony Drive. The town of Whitman's water sewer master file indicates this home is connected to municipal sewer and water. Sincerely, Barbara White, Chair. And from the planning board, at the September 22nd, 2020 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for 2 Old Colony Way. The planning board has no recommendation due to insufficient information on the plan. Sincerely, Eric Pretorius, Chairman. Okay, I will go to questions from members of the board. In a different order, Mr. Chandler, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. Looking at the, as you're speaking, and the shape of the lot kind of creates a problem for them in this case. So that's the only point I wanted to make, but I have no questions. Thank you.
Right. Mr. Andrews?
Excuse me. No, I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. And I agree that the lots in this development were allowed to be smaller. I'm wondering where this is only 15,000 feet and it should be 18. Should we give him a variance for the lot size where he's adding to it like this?
I don't think so, because I think there was a variance granted at that time for the size of the lots.
Right, yeah, for some of them, but I don't know whether this one was. And I was just wondering to protect the owner if we should give him a variance for it.
I really don't think it's needed, because I think he's not doing anything to the lot. He's just doing something to the building. So I think all he needs relief for is the variance for the side setback for the buildings.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay. Mr. Blas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When was this dwelling erected?
Uh,
21
Do you know,
years ago, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere around the.
If I may, John.
Yep. Mr.
John,
Connor?
I started work I started working in the town in 1998. That house was already built, and they were just kind of getting going down the street doing the rest of them. So that was probably 1996, 97.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I came on the board in 96 or 97, and I think this was before then. So somewhere in the early 1990s.
Okay, so, so not that it's, I guess it's a self-created hardship, but that's why you ask for a variance. Are there elevated drawings?
Not as of yet.
Okay, and then, so you've got an existing parking. So the bedrooms are going from what, 3 and staying at 3? Is that what you said?
No, it's going to be 4 at the end of everything. We're eliminating one of the third bedrooms existing and
Yeah.
re-adding that in addition.
Okay, so you're
Plus
putting
a-
two bedrooms in the addition and then 2 bedrooms
Correct.
from the existing house.
Correct.
Okay, 4 bedrooms. All right. All right. I mean, as far as that, the odd size of the lot certainly seems conducive to the, for relief here. But just so everybody knows, I'm not comfortable voting on this without seeing elevated drawings.
All right.
And I'll make a note, once again, the plot plan is insufficient. I see one where I see 2 neighbors, but I'm looking for, the larger locus on here, and it's not here. So, but the elevated drawings for me are the big deal. Where this is facing Washington Street. That's what people driving by are going to see. So I'd want to see that.
Well, our house actually faces Old Colony. The side of it faces Washington.
But traffic flows down Washington Street. So Washington Street is the view. The addition is the view that people are going to see.
Correct. Yes.
So, all right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Gometti?
Yes, John, I don't have any problem with it encroaching into the setback. Also, it's far enough away from that other dwelling that it's not going to make that much difference. And the other good thing is, well, usually I'm at the end of the table and all the questions have been asked. Only good thing, John, is I'm far enough away from Carol so she can't kick me. So, anyway.
Is that it?
I'll set
Okay.
you.
Okay. Mr. Jocelyn, can you just, I've been by there, but now I'm not remembering. The existing dwelling, is that the main part of the house? Is that 2 stories?
Correct.
And the existing garage, is that just 1 story?
It's 1 floor, but it goes up about 2 stories to the size of the existing house.
Okay. And so the addition is it just going to continue since we don't have the drawings, anything you can tell us about the appearance that you intend, will it continue the roof line of the existing garage?
So I'm also a licensed builder, so it's not going to continue the roof line. It'll step up from the roof line because you never want to continue the roof line. So it's basically what I'd like to do is it's going to be a 3-car garage. There will be a nice about 3-foot watershed over the doors. I'm going to have stone run up about 4 feet, and that'll cover the face of the house and also the side that is viewable from Washington Street, so that it creates a nice appearance.
Okay.
I mean, I basically so right now I have to do the whole entire house over. It's 21 years old. We need new siding, windows, everything. So.
All right. And is the existing driveway already to the width of the proposed addition, or are you widening the driveway as part of this?
No, the driveway should actually be perfect. It's 3 cars wide currently.
All right. Okay. All right. Those are the only questions I had. I guess my observation is it's a pretty minimal encroachment into the setback. While I agree with Mr. Blas, it'd be nice to see the addition. It's the variance here, the encroachments on, would really affect more the house and back, which is set back further. So I just don't see it affecting anybody in terms of the violation of the side setback. I mean, you could put a smaller addition on the house that wouldn't go into the setback, or just add a 2nd floor to the existing garage, and we wouldn't have really anything to say about it. So I would just look at it that way. Mr. Keeman, did you have any comments or questions?
No, I have no questions at all.
Anything further anybody wants to say on this before we close the hearing? All right, then I'm going to close the hearing. I'm going to close out the plan. Anyway, okay, so the application is for a variance for the side setbacks. Do I hear a motion on the application?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
All right, and I'm sorry, based on what?
The shape of the lot.
Shape of the lot. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it, John.
All right, Mr. Gometti has seconded it. I'll add, besides the shape of the lot, also the distance of the nearest abutter. The house on the abutting property to the addition is quite distant. I think we should add that. I'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Chandler,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes,
Mr. Blas,
No,
no, Mr. Gilmetti,
Yes,
and myself, John Goldrosen. Yes, the vote is 4-1. The application is approved. Mr. Jocelyn, you can discuss this timing and so forth with Mr. Curran at another time. We have 2 weeks to get out a decision because Carol O'Brien, our secretary, is very involved with the voting process. It probably will take us the full 2 weeks to get the decision out. But, thank
Okay,
you.
that's fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, let's see now. I'm going to get all the attendees in here for the next case. Okay, so. Okay, I think we have everybody in here as panelists, and all of the people we just admitted, you can unmute yourself if you'll just be careful not to rustle papers and so forth. We'll just proceed without muting everybody. All right, and all right, I'm going to this looks really good.
I'm
We
here.
have everybody in. Okay. I'm going to call this next hearing to order. This is case number 12. Location of property, 864 Bedford Street. Type of structure, proposed building. Owner's name, Maureen Foley. Owner's address, 864 Bedford Street. When did you acquire this property? It's currently under a P&L, purchase and sale agreement. Has application been filed with town clerk? No. Has any previous appeal been made? Yes. Section of bylaw which relief is requested, section 6-5, dimension table for front setback, rear setback, and maximum lot coverage. And section 7-2, site plan. Reason for asking relief, shape of lot makes it difficult to place the building on subject parcel. This case was advertised in the Whitman Hampton Express on October 8th and October 15th. Sitting on the case will be Mr. Chandler, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, Mr. Gilmetti, and myself, John Goldrosen. At this time, we'll have the reading of the list of abutters. Mr. Blas, if you would.
yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The following is a list of parties in interest in accordance with requirements of the State Zoning Act for the parcel located at 864 Bedford Street, Book 33862, page 132. Sugartown Investors. Maureen C. Foley, trustee, 335 Marine Street Nominal Trust. Jennifer and Jeffrey Roback, Alan and Sandra Burns, Colin O'Shaughnessy, Randy and Julia Nanigan, Robert and Francis Brown, Lee and Jenna Moyce, Pio Delosable, Nolan O'Donnell. And that is all.
Thank you. Okay, if people will bear with me a minute, I'm going to try to get the plans onto the screen. Let's see. The board members should all have a copy of this, but I'll put up one of the pages of the plan here. All right, that'll be a start. All right, who is speaking for the applicant?
John D'Souza from North County Group.
Okay, can you just,
John, I'm not seeing the plan on screen.
I'm not either.
Do you want me to share my screen?
We can't see the plan either.
It's
Gotta
just,
open the
John,
file,
it's,
that's all.
you have to select the window that opened once you open the.
yeah, I've got, it says I'm screen sharing. Let me,
Yes, it's not showing the plans. It's showing the folder that you have with all the different plans in it.
all right. Why don't you go ahead then and I may have to allow you to do it, but why don't you go ahead and I may have to. Okay, good enough. Can everybody see that now?
Yes.
Okay, I can see it.
I can see it.
Okay. Mr. Sidani, do you want to explain, go ahead and make your presentation then?
Sure. Actually, I'm John D'Souza from North County Group. Rami is actually not here tonight. He had another hearing that he had to go to. So
Okay.
I'll be making the presentation. So
Can you just spell your name for the record, Mr. D'Souza, for our secretary?
Sure. Last name is spelled D as in David, E as in Eric, S as in Scott, O as in Oscar, U as in umbrella, S as in Scott, A as in Adam.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
All right. So my client is he's looking to purchase the two properties known as 864 and 878 of Bedford Street. It lies basically on the westerly side of Route 18. Let me scroll down to the. So currently on the site there is a two-story red house that is on the southern portion of the lot. And next to that, there's a small little building that's used for auto sales, and there's a shed right next to it over there as well. The lot right now has a lot of asphalt. There is some fencing that runs along the northerly edge of the property, along the Burns property. And then the fence cuts across some of the backside along the Shaughnessy property. And then it goes down and along Sugartown Investors property as well. And the asphalt kind of carries over to Sugartown investors on the outer southern property. So right now, the lot is basically almost all asphalt. There is some green area, but not much, and there's some mulch along the Burns' property. So if we look at the lot is basically like an L-shaped parcel, which makes it very tight to do anything on the property with the current setbacks. As you can see, the house that's out here is basically half of the house is into the front setback, and a small portion of it is on the other side setback. And then where they have the office for the car sales, a portion of the rear of the building is into the setback on the backside. So if we go to the new plan of what my client would like to do, he would like to do a 6,000 square foot building, and he wants to put the building along the southerly portion of the lot to keep it as far away from the Burns property as possible. Reconfigure the parking area, get rid of a lot of the asphalt, bring in some greenery and some landscaping to help the area. So we have the parking along the northerly side of the property, and then the loading is along the southerly portion of the property on the building. Let me see. And here we go. So what we'd like to do also is incorporate some landscaping out into the property, because right now it's very sparse. So we have some shrubbery up along the front side, the low-lying shrubs. And then along the Burns's property, we have some mid-sized flowering trees that grow above 15 feet high. So we'll kind of give some greenery and also some flowers during the springtime as well.
There's a fence there.
Yep, there's a fence right at the property line as well that is going to stay. And I just want to go over to the building. So we also prepared some renderings of the building. So what I have shown there is basically just a color version. It shows the front of the building, and it shows the right side elevation of the building. And then I have the floor plan here. So you see the front entryway, right in through here, and then they have the gondolas. They have a walk-in cooler up on the backside, and the POS is going to be on the lower left front corner of the building. The loading area and the storage area is on the left rear side of the building. And then I have the front elevation, and then the left and the right side elevations of the building. And as you can see with the building, we're doing approximately 4 feet of stone on the front facade, and the left and the right facades as well. And then it'll have a vinyl siding to give it a clapboard look with it as well. So the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
let me just ask a couple of questions to clarify. Can you explain the relief that you need, what the variances are that you need for this property?
The variances that we'd be looking for is on the front of the building and the rear of the building.
The setbacks?
Yes.
Okay. And
Mr. Goldrosen?
yes. Who's
John,
that?
this will also, this is
Mr.
Bob
Curran?
Curran.
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Yes, this will also require variance, I believe, for lot coverage and under section 55-4 E1, it's residence A2. It will need a variance from that section.
Is part of the property residence A2 and part, what's the zoning of the property, Mr. Curran?
I'm just double checking that, John.
Or Mr. D'Souza, if you know.
I believe the two lots are zoned A2.
All right. And another question, just to clarify, how many parking spaces are you providing and how many would be required?
So the total number of spaces that are required are 20, and we are providing 20 spaces.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, Mr. Curran's checking out to get the zoning on the record. Let me just explain to everybody who's members of the public who are here for the meeting. We've had several Zoom meetings as a ZBA, but we haven't had one with this many people attending. So bear with us. I will, after the presentation by the applicant, I'm going to read some letters into the record from town boards. I'm going to ask members of the ZBA for their comments and questions. And then we'll go out to the members of the public for your questions and comments, and I will try to do it in organized fashion as I can, since I'm not in a place where I can simply look out at an audience and recognize you. There is a way to indicate on your screen to sort of hold up your hand on the screen, but let me get to that stage. We'll try to do it as best we can to make sure we address everybody's issues. All right. I have, let's see, several letters to read to the board. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health has no objection to the petition of Maureen Foley to raise the existing building and hold a retail store for the property located on 864 Bedford Street. The town of Whitman's water sewer master file indicates the home to be raised, R-A-Z-E-D, is currently connected to municipal sewer and water. The new building shall be connected to municipal water and sewer. Sincerely, Barbara White, Chair. From the Planning Board, at the September 22nd, 2020 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for 864 Bedford Street. The Planning Board recommends denial because the relief sought is a self-inflicted hardship. Snow removal looks like it could be an issue based on the plan. There's only one handicap parking space. Is that sufficient? The board feels the applicant could consider other designs that would not create a hardship. Sincerely, Eric Pretorius, Chairman. And from the Whitman Fire Rescue and Emergency Services, I have no objections to the proposed application of relief for the above listed address. I do ask, as part of the approval process, the building will need to meet all fire codes regarding detection and life safety. I would ask that a complete set of plans identifying the fire alarm system and fire sprinkler system be submitted to my office with enough time to be reviewed by our fire protection engineer. The building will need to be tied to a central station alarm monitoring company and install a Knox box on the address side of the building. Sincerely, Timothy J. Creno, Fire Chief. Okay, Mr. Curran, did you have anything to say on the zoning or anything else on this? Mr. Curran?
Sorry, John.
Yeah.
It is Residence A2. A variance will be required in accordance with section 55-4E1.
And what is 55-4E1 for everybody?
It is store for retail sale of merchandise, provided all display, storage, and sale of materials are conducted within a building, except for nursery, agricultural supplies, and provided there'll be no manufacturing or assembly on the premise.
All right, so if we give a
So
variance, go ahead, Mr.
John,
Curran.
I believe they want to relocate the liquor store that's in the old Stop and Shop Plaza to this new location.
All right.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Chair. Matthew Porter here. Not to interrupt. So our office represents the applicant here on their liquor license transfer. So while we haven't been involved in this application, I can confirm that is correct. They're looking to move the liquor store from across the street in the plaza.
All right, thank you. And just so, Mr. Curran, then just sort of for the record, by granting the variance, it would be specifically for a retail store. I mean, their intended use may be a liquor store, but if something changes in the future, if we approve this, it would allow it to be used for other retail use as well, correct?
Yes, if you grant the variance, I think you can apply stipulations to that. But for the purposes of our zoning in section 55-4, it's for a store for retail sales.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that. All right, let's see. Mr. D'Souza, could you close up the depiction of plan? We'll call it back up if we need to, but good, thank you. This way I can, like, be easier for me to see the other people on the board and members of the public. Let me go to questions from the board then. Mr. Chandler?
I have no question, Mr. Chairman.
I think I heard you say you have no questions. We're having trouble with the audio from your computer. Is that right? Okay, thank you. I see a thumbs up.
Nothing at this moment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blas?
Right now, did I miss a form? I'm looking for the neighborhood. The plot or the plan that I've got a lot of plans here. I don't know which one is the actual site plan, but I'm looking at the neighborhood. I'm looking for the neighbors. I'm looking for what's behind this lot, what's to the southerly side of this lot. I see one house. Trying to read it so small. The Burnses, but is there a plan here that shows the neighborhood? This is in a residential area, but I got nothing that shows me where the houses are, or am I missing the sheet?
No, the other residences are over 50 feet away from the property line. So the other residences are on the parallel street along the west. So you have residents there, and then you also have the residents to the north, which is the Burns' residence.
What is to the south of this lot?
It's another small little store. I don't know exactly what the name of it is, but I know it's a small little commercial location.
Enterprise. Enterprise rent-a-car.
Okay, well, that should
Enterprise
be on this plan. That should be on this plan and right behind it. What is right behind it? I guess it would be on the westerly side of the lot.
Hancock Street.
So, no, but there's something, Hancock Street goes behind it, but there's something directly behind this lot and it's not Hancock Street.
There's a couple of houses behind it. One
There are
Hancock.
houses. So this is so there are houses back there. I want to see those houses.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Blas?
Well, we're talking about putting a store in a residential area, and the store pretty much covers nearly the entire, a huge percentage of the lot. We're talking about putting a liquor store in a residential area. I guess that should be a call for the selectmen. I think that's outrageous. Yeah, I'll reserve my question for later, more questions for later, and I'll yield my time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blas. Mr. Andrews.
I'd like to know, the main entrance is, I'm sorry. The main entrance is fronting on the store, is that right?
The main entrance is fronting on the store, yes.
All right, and where is the second exit, entrance? On the side, on the right-hand side?
The second means of egress would be along the left or the southerly edge of the property.
On the left. Wouldn't it be, if you're facing the building, wouldn't it be on the right-hand side where the parking lot is?
No, it's on the left side. It's on the back end. It's from the inside.
Well, you have to have two entrances, don't you, on the store?
We actually meet the criteria under the building code that for the two entry doors in the front actually exceed what is required under the building code and under the fire code for entrances.
You don't have to have a separate exit?
No, what mandates that is the occupant load and then the square footage of the building for the sales floor. And there's a formula inside of the building code that you calculate it out, and the double entrance in the front exceeds what is required.
Okay. Is there going to be a second story or an attic to the building?
No.
There won't be. You won't be using it for storage or anything?
No, those are going to be roof trusses up on there.
All right. And according to the site plan, there's going to be nothing driven in front of the store. That's all going to be plantings or lawn or something?
Yeah, it's going to be a mix between lawn and shrubbery.
All right. And what's the area behind the building, the back area? What's that going to be used for?
The area right behind the proposed building is going to be a lawn as well.
Okay. And you're going to have the loading docks are going to be on the left-hand side of the building. Is that correct?
Yes, it was put there to keep it away from the residences.
All right. And you understand any deliveries have to be backed in, even the trailers, they cannot be driven in. You understand that?
Well, they're going to use the medium-sized trucks for most of their stuff, but yes.
Yeah, you cannot drive a trailer rig in there and then back it out onto the highway. You have to back it in to unload it if you're going to have a trailer.
Right.
Okay. Now, you said you have 20 parking spaces. That's what's required. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Where are the parking spaces for the management and the employees then?
That is all within the 20 spaces.
Well, I thought you said you needed 20 parking spaces for customers. You
you
showed
need,
20 spaces. You showed 20 spaces, but you said
right.
that was for the customers. So where are the employees or the management gonna park?
Mr. Khan, did
They'll,
you-
They gonna
they'll end up
Are they gonna,
utilizing,
they're gonna use the employees, I mean, the customers' parking spaces?
yes.
All right,
Mr. Khan,
All
do
right.
you want to clarify that, Mr. Khan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the bylaw requires one space for each 300 square feet of floor space.
It comes to 20 spaces here. That anticipates the spaces will be used by anybody. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
okay, all right. You show one handicap parking spot. Is that sufficient? Or do you
Yes.
need two?
No, you only need one. If we had 25 spaces, you would need two.
Okay. My next question is, what's your provision gonna be for snow piles? Where are you gonna put the snow piles?
So on the snow piles, we have a added drainage system that's going out here as well. So we're anticipating some of the snow piles that we're gonna be loaded up near the dumpster, or we're gonna put it towards the back end of the out of parking area.
So you'll be using some of the parking spaces for snow removal.
Yes,
So that's gonna lower the number of parking spaces you're supposed to have.
yes.
You're not gonna take it off-site?
If we start getting a lot of snow like we had a few years ago, then it will have to be removed off site, yes.
All right, and the parking lot, the back left corner is gonna be a fenced-in dumpster, is that correct?
Yes,
All right. And, okay, the hours for the dumpster would have to be between 7 AM and 7 PM.
yeah, that's usually when they make the pickups
Right,
for the
nothing,
removal.
nothing on Sunday.
No,
Are you gonna have any bollards, concrete bollards in front of the store or on the side of the store where the parking spaces are?
we'll end up having the bollards in front of those spaces up along the right side of the store.
Okay. And then, I agree with Mr. Blas 100%. You cannot create your own hardship and then come and ask us for relief for it. Now, you're gonna be tearing down a house and a little business office. So you should be able to put a building in there where you don't have to have any variances from the lot lines. If you
Well,
do, then you're creating your own hardship. The state of Massachusetts does not allow you to create your own hardship and then ask for relief from it.
well,
So that
I don't
means
see how we're creating our own hardship because the current
you're
house that's
creating,
out there is 9.9 feet from the street line, and we're increasing that from 9.9 to 22 feet. So we're looking for less relief than what currently exists out there.
Right.
that current building existed prior to zoning. So that's not, you can't use that as an excuse.
Well,
You have to go by the current
it's still,
zoning, and the state law says you cannot create your own hardship. So that
we're
means
not creating our own hardship. We're
you are by
actually
it.
pushing the building further back from where it currently is. But
Well, you still
because
have,
of the setbacks are so great in that area, and we have such a skinny lot, we have no option. If we're to keep within the setback lines, that building would be about 18 feet wide.
well, then that's what you have to deal with, is a smaller building. What's the size of the lot?
The size of the lot is 23,359 square feet.
Okay, so you just meet the minimum size, which is what, 22,000? Or was that 18,000? All right.
It's 18.
Anyway, you know, you might be at the point rather than asking for a variance from the lot lines, is to make your building a little smaller. That means you'd have to have a few less aisles for your products. But the safety of the public and the residential area that you're in, I think should take precedence over a retail store. That's all I have at the present time, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Mr. Gilmetti? Mr. Gilmetti, do you have any comments or questions? You're muted, Fred. Can you unmute yourself? I think Fred might going to get some help, technical assistance here. There we go.
Okay, John,
Go ahead, Fred.
you got me now?
We do.
All right, Wayne's gonna have to help me on this one. The site plan should have been stamped by a registered land surveyor. That's in our specs.
That's right.
Is it?
You agree with that, Wayne?
Well, I don't, I have a copy of the regular site plan, but I don't have it right in my hands. But yes, it has to be stamped by a registered land surveyor.
I see a stamp on it. Mr. D'Souza, can you just answer that question?
Yeah, so our surveyor, Joe Webby, was the third. He was on vacation when those plans went out to you guys, so our engineer stamped it. And the surveyor, I mean, he can stamp it tomorrow and we can get it back up to you folks. But unfortunately, he was on a vacation when we had to put this in, so it went in without his stamp on it.
Okay, John, I have a question for Bobby.
Go right ahead.
Where is he?
He's
I'm
there.
here, Fred.
Yep, he's
I'm here.
away.
Bobby, does this building require an airlock?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
Okay, I thought.
It's well advised.
I thought it was over 3,000 feet. It did.
No, it's well advised, but it's not required.
Okay. All right,
Mr.
that's all I
Gilmetti.
have, John.
Mr. Gilmetti, ready?
Mr. Andrews, go ahead.
On,
Yes.
if you look at the actual site plans, not the little copies we have, do the professional engineer's stamp on page 210
Okay.
of the original
fine.
big site plans.
I didn't see it.
It's not Webby. It's David, looks like David Cully.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so it has an engineer stamp and not a surveyor's.
Right, but it's just on that one page.
Okay.
No, it's on every page. It's on every page.
Anything else, Mr. Gilmetti?
All right, I'm all set, John.
Okay. Mr. Keeman, did you have any comments or questions?
My only question is, where is the AC units going? Behind it or on the roof? And the cool units?
They're gonna be on the roof on the back side of the building.
Is there gonna be any screening there to protect the noise from the neighborhood?
Yes, it'll have a screening and it'll also have like a small catwalk on it as well as required under the code.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keeman. I have a couple of questions before we go out to the public. Can you explain the drainage system for the property? And whatever other permits we need anything from the Conservation Commission for this, or? anything else of that nature?
Yeah, so Conservation Commission, because there are some wetlands out on the back, we'll have to add a file to just to let them know that the work is being performed out here. The wetlands are all off of property, so they're not on the property on itself. Now, as far as the drainage system, we have catch basins and manholes that collect all the stormwater, and then all the roof goes into roof leaders that are tied into the drainage system as well. And it goes through a grit chamber, and then it's going to go into some infiltration galleys, and that's up on the upper portion of the L on the property.
Okay, and this is all new compared to what's there now, right?
Right there, right now, there's nothing there, so it just runs out into the street.
All right. And can you, it looks like you'd be replacing, in terms of the entrance from the street, from Bedford Street, it looks like you're replacing one entrance that's there now with, are you going to have one entrance off the street into the parking lot and the other towards the loading platforms? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, so we're gonna revise the entrances and we're gonna cut them down to only where they're required. And then at the same time, we're also gonna put in the ramps on the walkway up along on the street as well for each one of those at the entrances.
And does that require approval from the state for that, from the State Department of Transportation?
I believe it will, because that is a mass DOT controlled highway at that point.
Okay. And another question I had is what are the proposed hours of operation for this liquor store?
The client may have to answer that because I don't know what those are.
Mr. Porter, or is there someone else that can address that?
Yeah, hang on one second. I just have to take a peek at the location. VJ, are you on the hearing
Yes.
right now? Yeah, can you just answer for the hours on the store?
So it's a Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday, Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Sunday, I believe it's 10 to 6 or 10 to 8. What is the towns allowed on Sunday?
Okay. And do you have to, I mean, you currently have a license, so do you need any permission from the Board of Selectmen to transfer this license or any other permits from the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, I can answer that question.
Yes.
Yes. So currently we have a change of location that has been filed with the Board of Selectmen's office. So we filed that simultaneously with this being filed with your office. That application is on hold. They wanted to see how everything went at this hearing, and at that point they would put us on for the next meeting. So we'd be before the board. They would have to approve a change of location is what it is, and then from there the state would have to approve that as well.
All right. Does the Board of Selectmen put limits on hours of operation in its license?
Yeah, so there are permissible hours with the state per state statute, and that's what VJ was reiterating there. From time to time, I believe the cities have the select boards have the opportunity to restrict some of the Sunday hours, but generally speaking, they defer to the state. It's by statute what allows liquor stores to open.
All right. Okay, that's the only questions I have at this point, other than I would agree with Mr. Blas and I believe Mr. Andrews that, you know, we expect to see a plan that shows adjacent properties and particularly here, but we'll continue with the hearing anyway and see where we want to go from there. So at this point, I'm going to go out to members of the public for their comments and questions. I'm going to start with the Burns because I'm sure that they that they have an interest in this. So Mr. Burns or Mr. and Mrs. Burns, whoever's there, if you'd like to speak to this.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, why don't you go ahead? Yes, comments, questions on this?
Dumpster position, is that gonna be over by our property?
It's shown as immediately adjacent to the building. No, I'm sorry, no, it's in the far corner of the parking lot as compared to your building. It's in the rear corner of the parking lot, but the rear corner that's closer to the building, not the one that's closest to your property. Is that helpful?
Well, it seems like it's gonna be an awful small area over there now, from the size of the building to the size of the parking lot. 20 spaces, it's gonna be pretty close to our property.
I can ask the engineer to put the plan back up on the screen if you'd like to see it or refer to it. Mr. Burns, would you like to have the plan on the screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Mr. Souza, could you put back up the, it's probably page 710, might be the one that
710.
710 or 5, I guess either 510, 710, whichever best shows it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to see that, Mr. Burns?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right there is where you're talking the dumpster is gonna be, right there where you're circling?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So,
I think
and
too,
the entrance is gonna be right by our driveway?
Mm-hmm.
The entrance from the street? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Mr. D'Souza?
Yeah, the entrance is basically almost at the lower portion of the L, and it's about from here to the corner of the property where your lot line is. That's about 30 odd feet to this point here. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
about
right.
30 feet away from your the property line.
is there shrub, can I just ask a question? Is there shrubbery and trees there along the fence line so that there's no,
Yes, we're proposing. Let me get the landscape plan.
So, and what that magically makes the noise go away under your bedroom and your living room?
So I think that's probably 810.
All right, so I have the landscaping up. So we have trees up along that whole of the property line to help with the screening.
Yeah, I'm just concerned getting in and out of my driveway with the traffic flow going in and out of the parking lot. And like the other gentleman said, Mr. Bloss, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. The truck's trying to back in to the loading area. I mean, is
Have
that gonna?
have you ever been out here and sat out here for any length of time with the traffic? And then you're gonna have a truck, whether it's a box truck or a tractor trailer, backing in and out of there. That's a dangerous situation. You have children walking to school right around the corner. It doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
And anything else? And just to clarify, Mr. and Mrs. Burns, the the entrance that will be used by the trucks doing the unloading is at the opposite end of the property from,
Right, it's at the opposite end, but it still creates a
Right.
dangerous situation, a hazard.
right, I just wanted to clarify that. And
Yep.
Mr. Souza, besides the landscaping, the proposed trees along the Burns's property line, is there a fence there as well or proposed as well?
There's a
Yeah, there-
fence currently.
Yeah,
Is
there's
that-
currently a fence. I have the Google Maps up, and you can actually to see the property. So you can
Right.
see the Burns's house, which is right here. You can see the driveway, and then you can see the garage and the current use of the property. It's basically almost all asphalt as it is right now.
All right. Is the fence, whose property is the fence on?
Say that again?
Is the fence on your property, Mr. and Mrs. Burns, or is the fence on the?
No, that's,
That's,
I put
Maureen
that
put the
fence up.
fence up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's Maureen's property.
And that fence would
Beautiful
remain, Mr. D'Souza, would that fence remain?
Yes.
All right. And so, Mr. and Mrs. Burns, it looks like from this Google area, your driveway is right up against your property line, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So the new driveway would only be 30 feet or so from your driveway.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be basically right in this area right here.
Right. Okay. Anything else, Mr. and Mrs. Burns?
Does Whitman have a quota as far as package store, liquor stores in town?
Mr. Curran, do
Mr.
you?
Goldrosen, if I may?
Yeah, if you could answer that.
Yeah, there are no liquor licenses available. However, if this was a transfer and this board will approve the variance, then the selectmen would likely allow the transfer to this property.
All right.
It
Thank
just
you.
doesn't, I mean, how
That's
many,
a transfer,
Right.
going from one to another.
right,
Yeah,
but I
so-
mean, how
so they
many
wouldn't
liquor
create a
stores do
new
we
one?
need within a mile radius?
Well,
Right, we're done with
It's
it.
the same
So,
liquor store.
yeah, we've got all we're gonna have.
Mhm.
This would be moving an existing liquor store to a different location.
Right, but what I'm saying is that within a 1 mile radius, there's already 4 liquor stores. How many do you need within a 1 mile radius? If you go, you got one at 42 Temple Street, one at 396 South Ave, one at 682 Bedford, and one at the Superstore on Route 18. They're all within a mile, less than a mile.
So may I say the 680 will be closed after this one's relocate because it's a relocation. It's not a new
Yeah.
business.
They're relocating.
Okay,
Right. The 682 would be moving here.
Yeah, there won't be a 680 liquor store anymore.
Right.
Okay. All right.
well, I mean, another concern, I mean, Massachusetts has one of the highest drinking problems in America. The last thing I think we need is another package store, but that's just my opinion. Especially when there's about 88,000 Americans dying each year due to alcoholism. It's just, I don't know, and to have it right next door and it just, it's not good. There's nothing good about it.
I-
I'm sure any one of you on the board wouldn't want it right next door to your house.
All right, thank you. Mr. D'Souza, could you take down the picture on the screen just so I can see the other people at the hearing? Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to speak, I think if you, there's a way to like have indicate that you wish to speak by raising
Yeah,
your hand.
I'd like to say something. I don't know how
Yeah,
to do the raising
Ms.
of the
Foley,
hand.
go ahead, Ms. Foley.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Foley.
Thank you. So I think that aesthetically, that building fits within the scheme of, the mixed use that the highway actually is. So you have the barking barn next to the Burnses. You have another car lot. You had a little rug store down the street. There's a couple of mechanic places, Shadley Brothers. And there's a current project going across the street from Shadley Brothers, which is also the same zoning. So I think that Whitman has done a terrific job in developing the town and creating, you know, some revenue that, and quite frankly, on the parking area, I think my license is for 44 cars, and it's going to continue on that side of the Burnses, which, you know, we talked extensively, and I was very concerned because, you know, I've always tried to be a good neighbor and wanted to make sure that that building didn't sit on the other side of the lot. So the Patels and the engineer had done a pretty good job at it, but I think it's, you know, a couple of dormers, and it seems like and aesthetically pleasing, and they were very conscientious with, you know, greenery and trees, especially where the trees on the Burns side grow to be, what did you say, 15 feet or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it looks like, you know, I try to create some privacy when it wasn't asked of me to put a fence up, but I certainly, you know, being a conscientious neighbor, put that fence up. And I just think it's a lovely plan, and I hope it works out. That's basically all I really wanted to say about it.
All right, thank you. Make things simple. I'm just going to call on the other people that I see on my screen and see if they wish to have anything to say. I see Anthony Vaca. Do you wish to speak on this? If so, you can unmute yourself.
I'm the real estate agent. I have no comment.
All right. And then I see a phone number on here, 781-733-6632. Can you, if you wish to speak, could you unmute yourself? We're not, let's see, we're not hearing anything. That's not anybody else's phone number, is it, who's already on the screen? No.
No comment. I don't have a comment.
Okay, can I just ask you who you are, just for the record?
Sure, Brenda Kimball. I'm a resident of Whitman.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody, I think I have everybody who's on the screen here. All right. Members of the board, I guess I'll just sort of ask how you'd like to see it. I know you have concerns about the site plan. On the other hand, the people who seem most directly affected are the Burns, and they are here.
John?
Yes, go ahead,
John?
Mr. Blair.
Okay, I pulled up Google Earth on my laptop, on my other laptop, so I'm looking at the houses that are behind the proposed building, that are on Hancock Street. There seems to be a vegetative buffer, quite a few trees. Will the applicant, but I don't know where the property line is on the, on my Google Maps image. So can someone speak to how much of that vegetation would be coming down?
All that vegetation is not coming down. That's all staying.
Okay, all of it is not coming down. Does that mean none of it's coming down?
Exactly. So the edge of the asphalt that you see that's out there, That's underneath the canopy. That's actually getting pulled back from the canopy line. So all that vegetation that you see that's there is actually staying there. That's not getting moved at all.
Thank you.
Mr. D'Souza, will there be fencing along the rear of the L at the rear of the parking lot behind the dumpster?
Yes.
Is there existing fencing there, or is that be added?
There is some, but we would replace that with a stockade up
Right.
along the whole the backside as well.
And along the rear of the building as well, are you saying?
Yep. Yep.
All right. And what about along the enterprise lot side of the lot?
Right now, with the asphalt blends from one side to the other, if they want the fencing, we wouldn't have an issue adding it there.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, but I think they're not even in operation right now during the pandemic. if I'm correct,
They have come back in operation.
They-
There was a fence there. They had a chain link fence there and they took it down.
I'm just thinking for your sake, you should have something there to define your property line for the future. And also where you're going to have trucks going in and out along the side of the building, it'd be better to have some definition there. So that would be a suggestion.
We're actually going to remove the asphalt that connects the two lots in between there, and we're adding a green strip that's almost 8 feet wide.
All right. Okay. Then you may want something, even if it's a short fence along the where you've put the green in, so you don't have cars from the adjacent property coming onto it. But it might not need to be a full fence then. But that's more a suggestion. All right. Let me go back to the Burnses, Mr. and Mrs. Burns. Just if this were to be approved, and I don't know yet what the sense of the board is, but is there anything further that you would like to see the applicant do that would make less of an impact on your property? And I think you're muted at this point, so if you can unmute yourself.
I don't, it's just all new and we're just obviously very discouraged. It's not something, you don't realize what something like this is like unless you live next door to it, when you have to hear those constant car doors shutting and opening and people coming and going. And it's just such an invasion of your privacy. It's,
All right.
You couldn't imagine unless you had to live next door, like I'm saying. You know, you constantly hear people talking and, like I said, car doors open and shutting. Maureen has, done things to improve some of the, the past issues that we had, car alarms in the middle of the night or the deliveries, she did work to do that. But now this is going to be a whole nother set of issues that we have no idea what they're going to be until they happen. Because when you're just, something like this is just thrown at you and this is going to be your next door neighbor, you don't know what it's going to be, I'm
going to throw something out here. It seems like this proposal was designed to keep the building furthest away from the Burns' property. But it almost seems like the greater intrusion on your property would be the cars going in and out more than the building itself.
Exactly.
I'll ask the engineers, did you consider some other design that would put the parking further away?
Well, the other layout that we had looked at was actually putting the building along the L portion and up near the Burnses. I mean, I don't think we'd have an issue swapping the building and the parking lot if the building will shield out a lot of the visual and will actually help with some of the sound as well. And
But then what about the sound from like the coolers and the air conditioners?
well, we'd put the that along the left side of the building, which would be up by the garage on your lot, so you wouldn't get the constant humming. We could actually put enclosures around those to help with that as well.
Might be a better option.
And Mr. Curran, do you want to speak to that? Because I know this has come up before. I think when we had the addition to the Stop and Shop about what the sort of the current state of technology is for these rooftop air conditioning units.
John, they could come up with a design which leaves maybe a structure between where the air conditioning and the heating units are and the cooler that would block it with an actual wood frame wall. They did that at the new gas station where Ledbetter's was, and that seemed to have made a big difference. So that may be something if they move the building closer to the Burns property and they come up with some plan to diminish the amount of noise from those units, I think that would be appropriate.
All right. So now let me go back to the members of the board, because, you know, some of you, I think, expressed a basic concern about, I don't want to send them off and ask them to come up with a revised plan if something the board doesn't want to grant the variances, it doesn't want a retail store in this location, period. So just kind of informally, can you give me a sense of where you are? I'll just ask each of you in turn. Mr. Andrews?
If they were to take the building and push it over to the Burnses and turn it so it faces towards Hancock Street. You know, in other words, you would turn it sideways.
Perpendicular to Bedford Street instead of parallel.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And put the parking over on the other side. But I would not like to see them have a loading zone for deliveries next to the fence. So if they could come up with some way to have the tractors come in somewhere on that left-hand side and swing over that way. I don't know how they'd do it. But I agree with Mrs. Burns. Even though the tractor rigs have got to back in there and then come out, there's still going to be a possible danger to school kids walking. And the only way that would get solved is if every delivery had somebody out there in the street stopping the traffic and watching out for kids. I don't know how you're going to get deliveries in there by turning that building around without interfering with the customers at the same time. But there's no way you could squeeze that building in there and still put deliveries next to that fence. That would be even worse than it is now.
If I may,
yes, go ahead, Mr. D'Souza.
We would not put the loading zone between the building and the fence. We would actually have two curb cuts on the Bedford Street, so the truck would be able to pull in, and then would have a loading zone along the real property line, unload, and then leave by the southerly property line. So he wouldn't have to back in or back out. He'd be able to pull in and leave.
But by doing that, you'd still have the exit where it is now. Is that correct?
No, the exits would get rearranged. So the what would happen is the entrance that we currently show, that's about 30 feet from the Burns' property, would actually end up being about 110 feet away. So it would push it way out from their property line.
And how would the trucks would still back in? Is that correct?
No, they would pull in on one side, pull up to the rear property, which is the west property line, unload, and then they would leave down by the Enterprise would have another entrance there.
Well, you've got the entrance there now, down by the Enterprise.
Right, well, we have it now for the loading zone, so we'd have that as an exit out for the 18-wheeler.
Right,
Yeah,
so you'd
think
still
we
still have the
still
same
getting
exit
some-
next to the Enterprise.
Right.
They'd
So
have,
that's-
as I understand it, they'd have two entrances, entrance exits, but both would be between the building and the Enterprise property. So both of those would be further away from the Burns's property.
Right, but,
Yes.
and then you get back to the parking. Isn't that going to interfere with cars coming in and leaving if the tractor is just parked along there?
Well, we would have to check the sight lines at that point, but he wouldn't be just pulled up there and idling. Because what would happen is he'd pull into the middle of the lot, then he'd ride to where the loading zone would be, which is about the rear of the property line, unload, and then get back in the truck, and then he'd leave by the Enterprise area.
I mean, obviously, we'd have to see a new set of site plans. Wayne.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I come in?
I know what you want to do, but I think this is the wrong thing to put there. I really do. I think there's a tremendous amount of possible accidents happening, and especially during the school year when the kids are walking those sidewalks. I don't think this is a good idea.
All right. Mr. Patel, I think I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so just a quick bringing for the delivery, we can control the time with the vendors and supplier. So let's say if you want to bring it 10 a.m., they can bring it at 10 a.m., which is no traffic, there's no customer. You know, we can control this delivery time just to make traffic easier.
And also maybe to coordinate it with school times.
Yes, we can do all the delivery timing. It can be set. If 11:30, that means they can come 11:30.
And then what would you do? Move the dumpster over to the left-hand corner next to Enterprise?
The dumpster would still go into the corner, but it'd just be relocated to some. So it's still out on the backside, but it'd get flipped out and around towards the where the that inner corner of the elders on the backside.
Yeah, I got it. Sort of facing into the main part of the lot.
Right. Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I understand, Mr. Andrews. Your position still is. You don't.
I would have to see a new site plan, but I don't know, John. I have a
Okay.
lot of misgivings about this.
Yeah,
Right. And I'm going through this for the sake of the applicant. So again, if the board's opposed to it, even with the change, no sense in going further. Mr. Blau?
Yeah, just real quick, that building right now is 60 feet deep. If you were to superimpose that exact footprint of that building onto perpendicular with the street, that lot is only 72 feet wide on the northern side of the lot. The building is 60 feet deep. So you're putting a 60-foot building in a 72-foot area. That only gives you 6 foot of setback on the front and the back of the building. The front, well, I guess I don't know, on the northerly and on the southerly side of the building in that corner. So you're even you need even more zoning relief.
Right. Well, I might have to be.
Yeah, and then the other thought is for the Burns to have that building right up against their lot line. That building is 30 feet high. Even if that fence is 8 feet high, the building is almost 4 times the height of that fence.
All right.
Unless maybe they'd paint a green monster or something on it for you.
All right. Ms. Chandler, what's your feelings on
Thank
this?
you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me at this time?
No, we can't hear you well, Jim.
I'm sorry, internet connection is bad on the street at all times.
The Comcast is definitely against you, Mr. Chandler, every time.
All right.
If you want,
Yes.
Jim, you could, if you can't, go,
okay,
you
I
could
just
go ahead,
want
or I was going to say you could use the chat function and I could read your comments.
I'll pass on. Yes, that I don't believe I could do that very quickly. Not exactly computer savvy. Could I call in on my cell phone?
Well, go ahead and try
Go
to
on
speak.
to the next, please.
All right, let me go on and come back to you, and you can see what we can do. Mr. Gilmetti, what's your overall thoughts on this?
John, I see all these projects going on in Route 18, and we're not looking into decel lanes. They put 2 lanes in front of my house, and it's so much easier for me to get out of my driveway. I don't know why we don't look into decel lanes. And, you know, there's traffic going in and out, and it gives these people enough chance to accelerate, you know? So that's the only thing I see. I don't know why we're not requiring it. It's really up to the state. And maybe the state could answer that question. I don't know. But I hate to see it. I hate to see these big projects with no decel lanes. That's it. Bobby, you got an answer? I saw you come up.
Oh, I have no answer for that. I'm concerned whether or not the state will allow 2 curb cuts there on that frontage.
There's
I think
already
we
2
heard
curb
recently-
Oh,
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I'd like to see them make some kind of a.
Yeah, I
answer for it, you know?
think if this board is inclined to look at a different way, my feeling is the footprint of the building is too big to turn it sideways and still fit it up near the Burns property with any kind of a setback at all. So they may have to go with a more square building to fit there. And they're going to have to check with the state for curb cuts to see if they'll allow the width that they're going to need times 2. I think the frontage on Bedford Street may be too small for that.
Well, it already has 2 curb cuts out there, so.
Yeah, it does, but they're not 24 wide, right?
One of them is way more than 24, and the other one is about, I think, 16.
Yeah, the issue may be if you relocate them. So I think you need to come up with a plan that will work. As far as Fred, what you're saying in the decel lanes, I think that the state would maybe do a recommendation, or this board could require a traffic study, and that's well within your right to ask for that. Yeah, I think John had left.
John, can I jump in? No, I'm talking to John. John, can I jump in a second? I just got I think it's in Bobby's office. I just had a decision by the Conservation Commission around the corner on Belmont Street. And in that same river, I had to stay 200 feet away from. Did you get that?
That's the Meadowbrook.
Yeah, Meadowbrook.
Yeah,
Which one is this?
Fred, I think that John got logged off.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's the vice chair?
Fred,
Yes.
you're
Is that
up.
you, Fred? You're up.
Calling me, Bobby?
Yeah, I think,
I'm
Fred,
all
that
set.
John logged off for some reason.
His phone he had a problem.
Oh, okay.
If there's a little bit of a lull, can I ask, or at least point out a couple of things, if you don't mind?
Well, no, we
Really
have to
would-
have the chairman because he's voting. He has to hear all testimony.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We have straight jobs backing in there. And they do, they back one in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I hear them. And I can hear the noise when they drop that tailgate. I know exactly what time it is. But whoever backs that trailer truck in doesn't even, there's no problem at all. He backs that thing in like it's a Toyota, you know? So, anyway.
John's plugging in his phone. It died on him.
Bobby, did you receive that decision on Belmont Street from the conservation? I know
Yeah, I
I'm
do
out
have a
of
copy.
order, but
Well, you're not discussing this case. I think that's fine. I did get a copy of it.
you did. Good.
Yeah,
That was a long road.
yeah.
Is John gonna call
I see
back
the-
in?
Yeah, he's got to plug in his phone.
What do you say connected? Jim got lost.
Richard,
Yes.
can we find something to fight about?
Hey, they're going to be taking down the old Bank of New England building in the center, I think next week.
Oh,
They got the
good.
permit for that.
So they
Yeah.
pulled the permit for that big commercial building?
Yeah, he's going to be tearing it down and dismantling the septic system, I believe, early next week.
That's great to hear.
And we had another one. Yeah, we had another one that was a fire on Commercial Street. A 6-unit building burned, was destroyed. He found that has been taken down and there's a new foundation in now. And they'll rebuild that, and they don't have enough room for 6 units because of fire protection, so they're going to put in 5.
Yeah, good. Have you heard anything on the other proposal across from the Bank of New England building?
That's the same owners as Supreme Pizza. They finished with their project. They just opened a barber shop over there. And they're doing really well, but I think it cost them a lot more money than the original thought. So that slowed down the other project.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I don't know, you've been by the 666 Temple Street. I'm sure you've seen that. They're dragging their feet there.
Have you,
There's 4 units.
Have you been able to do anything with the Columbia Auto Body, that lot next door with the fence around it?
Yeah, they have an order now. I believe it's from Conservation that they have to take that area out and replicate. So I was waiting to hear what happened with that. And so I haven't sent them a letter yet. I think we probably is appropriate.
This has been going on
Okay,
since May, something like that.
Yeah.
This is John. Can you hear me now?
John's back.
Okay, I'm back. You can't see me, but you can hear me.
Right.
Sorry about that. I didn't have my phone plugged in and it ran out of juice. So, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we were at, I guess, just trying to decide whether to, how to proceed with this case.
I was wondering if I could just interject on a couple of points.
Yes, please do, Ms. Foley.
Okay, thank you. So I think that when I thought about, your concern with the tractor trailers and Mr. Patel said he could control the hours. Dunkin' Donuts is right across the street from us and they get tractor trailer deliveries. And I don't recall any, enormous traffic issues due to that. So that's something I think needs to be considered. And as far as the building itself is concerned, I think, how high is the building that you're proposing?
It's 30 feet to the top of the ridge, the roof.
Okay, I think that's almost, if not around the same height as the garage that the Burns have on their property. So I
Right.
think it's not too enormous. I think it fits relatively well. But that's two of the points that just came to mind while Mr. Goldrosen was plugging in his phone. So I just wanted to bring it up.
I was hoping I'd call back in and find that you people had resolved everything.
Yeah, it's all set.
Mr. Chandler, are you able to, can we hear you now? Are you on the phone?
It looks like he's in the process of connecting to the audio. It's taking too long though. It might not work.
All right. All right. Well, I guess so. We
believe so. Trying.
Jim, we're still not able to hear you. It's like extends out. If you were able to call in on the phone, Jim, it might work better. Well, let me go back then. Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, Mr. Gometti, what would you like us to do on this? My own feeling is can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm getting some noise in my phone. I don't think I could go for this with its current design because I think the entrance and exit to the parking lot is just right up against the Burns' property. And, you know, it would be accommodating something that, granted, there are plenty of businesses along this stretch regardless of the
Chairman,
zoning.
if you can hear me.
Right.
A little bit. Go ahead, Jim.
With my phone. I called in on the phone. See if you can unmute me.
Let me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me, what's your phone number? Is that 733? Jim, I'm not,
I'm unmuted.
you're unmuted now on the screen when you're speaking.
Jim, you calling on the phone in your hand? Look at the phone. It looks like you joined.
Yes, can
I
you
don't-
hear me on the screen?
Just heard you there.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, that was better, Jim. Try that.
All right, does that work?
Try that. Go ahead.
All right, can you hear me now?
A little bit. Oh, okay, wait. I see you're connecting down here.
You have entered the meeting as panelist. Attendees can now hear you speak.
You need to put another quarter in the payphone.
Jim, can you unmute your?
Hear me now?
Not well. Give it a try. All right, I'm not hearing Jim.
It's not going through. Yes, if you can't hear me now,
Yeah, very poorly,
All right.
Jim.
Okay. All right. It's
Can you try
not
just calling?
working at all there. If you can hear me, I'm on the screen. All right. Sorry.
Jim, can you possibly just call in on a phone like I did?
All right.
All right, let me go on to Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas. What would you like us to do with this? I was starting to say, I could not support the original proposal if they were able to come back with a redesign, moving the building perpendicular to the street, which I agree would probably mean having to redesign the building a bit, and have the parking on the enterprise car lot.
Yes,
I
I'm
could,
trying.
you know, I could consider that, but if the rest of the board doesn't, you know, just doesn't think this is an appropriate use for the site, then we really shouldn't go any further on it.
Well,
So
John, I'm going to ask you a very important question. Are we required to decide the merits of this case based on simply the layout that we've been handed by the applicant, or do we are we allowed to take into account the fact that there's a liquor store that's going to be put into the building?
Done with it.
Mr. Curran is well, I think we can take that liquor store into account because we're being asked to give a variance from the zoning itself, because this is A2 residential. Mr. Curran, if I'm not correct in that, please jump in. But so we're not just giving variances from setbacks, we're also giving a use variance, really. And we could certainly consider what the proposed use is.
All right, well, thank you.
I would say you're correct.
Okay, based on that information, my overriding, regardless of location of the building on the lot, whether it's parallel to the street or perpendicular to the street, the siting of a liquor store in an R2 residential that is close to a street where the grade school goes, and there are residential, directly abuts residential properties within the R2 zone. I feel that the building is not appropriate, and I would not vote for approval.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Andrews?
I have to agree with Mr. Blas. I think the building is too large. And like I said at the beginning, they're creating their own hardship, and that's not allowed. So I couldn't vote for this either.
All right. So without going any further, trying to get Mr. Chandler back in the line, or even Mr. Gilmetti, Mr. D'Souza, Ms. Foley, Mr. Porter, it doesn't seem, and Mr. Patel, it seems even with the redesign of the building, there would not be 4 votes in favor, which is what you would need. So I offer you, as you know, we could proceed and take a vote in it, but I offer you the option of seeing if the board would give you leave to withdraw without prejudice, because I wouldn't really want to tie things up for 2 years if there was some other proposal for use of the site. Would that be all right with the board if they, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, if they wish to withdraw without prejudice?
That's fine with me.
Fine, I'm fine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So at this point, normally I would ask the applicant if they wish to step out of the room and discuss it, but that's a little difficult to do on a Zoom call. So
can I just mute it so I can have a conversation?
Yeah, Mr. Porter.
John?
Yes.
Is Mr. Curran still there?
I'm here.
Yes.
While we're waiting for them to do that, Bob, we've got a couple of cases coming up. And one of them is, I think it's for Millie's Lunch. That mortgage plan is no good. We've got to have a regular site plan with the abutting property.
I think what he did was well, just so you all know, some of these plans come in from land surveyors that you don't recognize.
Right.
Most of them are so busy you can't get somebody out there to do site plans. I think Rosen put in whatever he had with the anticipation that he'll have something that this board would recognize as proper prior to the hearing or the night of the hearing.
Okay,
thank you for that, Mr. Curran, because I didn't want to discuss that here, but if that message, and Mr. Andrews, I can tell you that through Carol, asked her to convey that message to Mr. Rosen. So Mr. Curran, if he has that message, that's good, because
I'll remind him that before you have the hearing, he's got to have a plan that's worthy of this board.
All right.
And that's the case with this one for the liquor store. They're kind of at the mercy of whoever they can get to do it. As you know, I think it was Joe Webby was supposed to be doing the site plan for them, and he was away on vacation or whatever, but they're all so busy because there's projects going on almost everywhere.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get professional services, and it's also very difficult to get the boards to hold hearings. I mean, it's getting so difficult.
Bob, a lot of these guys never have been before the board in this town, and they don't have copies of our zoning bylaw. If they would pick up a copy, if they would pick up a copy, they would do it right.
Well, but
yeah,
Wayne,
whatever they do, we give them the information sufficient to fill out the application correctly and to come up with a site plan that is according to what you would like. Unfortunately, engineers do work for other towns too, and in some towns, sometimes it's a hand sketch, and that's sufficient for some boards. And this board is trying to make sure that they have all the information they need. And I think in this case, they should still have a stamp plan from a land surveyor.
That's right.
Yeah,
I mean,
and my feeling is, go ahead.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Go ahead.
No, just Wayne. Whitman is one of the very few towns in the area that doesn't have their zoning bylaws online. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
well, we have
true.
That's something I've been trying to get done.
We have a zoning bylaw subcommittee in town, and they don't meet but maybe once a year. They don't do much of anything.
No, but we've got existing bylaws. All you got to do is someone transcribe them and download them as a PDF file, or even copy the ugly things and have it as a PDF file, a link.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, I actually have an unofficial copy of the bylaws that I tried to put online, and I was told that we need to get permission from town meeting. John Goldrosen, you know the answer to that. I don't think that's required. You could just say
No.
that's unofficial.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
So
I mean, the town clerk is responsible for keeping, an official copy, and assuming, it could be.
That problem's over now. I think we have hired a company that is codifying our bylaws, and that's going to involve a lot of changes because language is not necessarily correct. So what we're going to do is, I'm hoping that in the springtime we go to town meeting with the whole bylaw all put together and voted at in the May town meeting. Then it will be put online.
Okay, that's good.
So
Because Mr. Blas is absolutely correct. Because I've had in my profession had to deal with looking up town bylaws online for many towns, and
and they're not
other than a few towns out in Western Mass that have like 300 people. Everybody else has their bylaws available, either electronically and codified, or if not, just PDF.
And I do have that available PDF, and I do send it out when people request it, or if I think it's going to be of assistance to them. I have given everybody all the information they need. It's just that they're not familiar with the bylaws, and maybe it's the first time they've worked with Whitman for site plan requirements and/or variance requirements.
It's too bad, because cases like this would never come before us unless it was all set, Because most of these guys don't know how our bylaws are.
And beyond that, it certainly doesn't encourage people to build in town when they can't even find out what they're supposed to do.
That's right. Well, we can blame Frank now because he's not around. I've heard rumors he might want to be our new VA agent.
Really? That would be good.
I had heard rumors that there was a possibility he wanted to be the new veterans agent.
Is Frank a
Yeah,
veteran?
Yeah, Frank is
Yeah.
a veteran.
Oh,
Because he was
he was
on the draft board with me back in the late 90s.
Right.
Did those people
John,
forget
I have
about?
I see, like on my screen, they seem to be conferring somewhere, so, we'll give them time to get back.
John,
I personally held this whole meeting up long enough, so.
I have a request for a co-location on the monopole behind the old Stop and Shop.
Okay,
Our bylaw says that they need to come in for a special permit for that, for either any co-location.
yeah,
or,
that's,
I think that's outdated. Do you agree?
yes. The FCC has, updated their regulations to really, I think you may be able to simply issue a building permit or else maybe site plan approval at most.
I was going to send them for site plan approval, and then I read the FCC regulations, and I believe I can just ask for structural review and then issue a permit.
Yeah, I think you should do what you think is right.
Where is that for, Bob?
It's the monopole, the new one that's over behind Carrie's.
Why, did they ever put it up?
Yeah, it's up. You didn't notice it? It's all up and running. So I think it's DirecTV or some one of those wants to do a co-location there.
Yeah.
They want to put
All
another
right,
one.
I think I see some of I see Mr. Patel back, Mr. D'Souza. I don't see Mr. Porter on the screen, but I see Ms. Foley, though you're muted. You're muted, Ms. Foley. Okay, now you're on. And I see Mr. Porter stirring. There he is. Okay. All right. I don't know which of you wishes to speak. What would you like to do on this?
John,
my client.
Mr. D'Souza, do you want to?
Yep. My client would like to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay. Can I have a motion to that effect by a member of the board to give leave to withdraw without prejudice?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to allow the applicant to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay, Mr. Blah, second
I'll second.
by
Richard.
Mr. Blas. Okay, let me take and just so the Burnses understand, this takes it off the table. They come back with some other proposal. Again, for any use of the site that requires any relief from the board, they again would have to apply, have a public hearing and so forth. That's the reason for this procedure. All right, Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
On the, yes, Mr. Blas?
Yes.
Mr. Chandler? A thumbs up will do?
He says yes.
Okay. Mr. Gometti?
Yes.
And myself, John Goldrosen, yes. So leave to withdraw without prejudice is given. Thank you all for participating, and I know it's been a long hearing, but we tried to give you a fair hearing on this and let everybody be heard. Okay, so that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That closes this hearing. We do have minutes, which I think we can do very quickly. It's just one case.
Yeah,
From,
John, I have reviewed them and they all look to be completely in order. So as far as the general minutes, I'll move to approve.
All right. Second by Mr. Andrews. So I heard the second from? Okay. Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr.
Jim
Andrews?
Chandler, yes, too.
Jim Chandler, yes. Mr. Gometti?
I wasn't here, John.
Okay. Mr. Keeman?
Yes.
Okay, and myself, John Goldrosen, yes. And then the minutes for case number 9, 382 Washington Street for the September.
Didn't we already approve those?
No, I don't think so. This is for the September 14th hearing, the second hearing.
That was the daycare. I read those. They are completely in order, and I'll move to approve.
Okay, second. Mr. Andrews, second. Mr. Blas in favor?
Favor.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mr. Keeman?
Yes.
Mr. Chandler? Yes. And myself, John Goldrosen, yes. All right, that concludes our business. Our next hearing is Monday, November 9th. Carol, am I correct? We have 2 matters on that hearing?
Yes, we do.
Washington Street, and
Mayflower
Essex. Is the other one, which is the other one, Caholen?
Mayflower Circle.
Oh, Mayflower Circle, okay. And then we have 2 more at this point pending that we haven't scheduled a meeting for.
3.
3 now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We could do it November 30th or December 7th. Carol, I mean, when you're so busy, I'm thinking to push that off. December 7th, that's what I think.
Okay.
Can't have it. That's Pearl Harbor Day.
It's Pearl Harbor Day. All right, so November 9th, December 7th. All right, at this point, I'm going to, I guess, adjourn. Maybe I need to take a vote to adjourn the meeting, so let me do that. Mr. Andrews, will you make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No.
Mr. Blas, will you second it?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
How about that?
I don't know if you're allowed to, this is being recorded, Mr. Blas, for a later presentation. Mr. Andrews, yes?
Yes.
Mr. Blas?
Yes.
Mr. Chandler, yes. Mr. Gometti?
Yes, and when are we getting the Chick-fil-A?
Maybe we'll go, I don't know. Myself, yes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Ryan Tully, thank you for being on the line and taking care of this.